Okay, this is a test. The dog is asleep on the stairs upstairs. I have a theory that when he realises I'm talking, he's going to fairly quickly come and join me. So let's see. Hi guys, welcome back to the Emily Knits channel. My name is Emily. I am a knitter and crocheter in my mid-30s, based in the north of Nottinghamshire in the UK, where I live with my husband and I have 2 dogs close to Sherwood Forest. I have a traditional format podcast for you today. I've got a couple of finished objects to talk about, one of which I'm wearing, and some progress on some whips. So we'll get into it, but before we do, you can find me on Ko-fi, Ravelry, Instagram and email, all of which are down below in the description box. And a couple of bits of admin I wanted to update you on before we start filming properly. Make-alongs, knit-alongs, those kind of things. So first things first, the Get Ahead make-along. First off, apologies. Myself and Leah were running this and neither of us have been very good at it, but I know a few of you have entered. We wanted to extend it a bit to give people a little bit longer to enter. So the idea of this was to get ahead, as the name might suggest, by knitting or crocheting spring and summer appropriate patterns or using spring or summer appropriate yarns. And we just both have had a lot going on and it slipped both of our minds. But I said, I don't think Leah's had many people apply to herself. I have. So what I've said is, if you want to still apply, you have till the 27th of May, which is the day after the bank holiday in the UK. You can still apply. Email me, tag me on Instagram, use the hashtag GetAheadMel, and I'm going to draw some winners either just before I'm going on holiday towards the end of May, and either just before I go away on holiday I will pick some winners, or just after we come back in sort of early June I will pick some winners. We have some pattern prizes, we have some yarn prizes, so I'll pick some winners and I'll get in touch with you, or I'll announce it on here. I'm hoping the sound's good. I'm sort of, I can see that my mic connection is not very good, so hopefully it's working. Yeah, so we'll pick some winners and they'll be announced. The other one is the Emily Knit Stash Down Mal. That is still running until the end of the year. I'm going to pick some winners again, sort of June time. I had said I'd do them quarterly, and I didn't do any in April, my April time, because I just got a bit overwhelmed. I'll be honest. I had a lot of other stuff going on with work and everything, and I just got a bit overwhelmed. But I will pick 2 lots of winners in June. Again, multiple ways you can enter in that. You can enter in on Instagram using the hashtag Emily Knit Stash Down Mal or EK Stash Down Mal. I'll put all the details of hashtags and stuff on screen and in a pinned comment or in the description box. You can also enter via email if you would like to do that, and we do also have a Discord if you would like to join, and you can enter there as well. I will pick some winners from each of those, so I'll pick some from email, some from Instagram and some from Discord, or potentially, I don't think I've had massive amounts on Instagram or email, but I have had some from both, so I might combine Instagram and email and pick a prize from there and pick a prize from Discord. And like I say, I'm going to pick 2 quarters worth of prizes in June, and then we'll pick the next lot at the end of the next quarter of the year. So make-alongs all out the way. That's what I needed to talk to you about there. Yeah, so I've got 3 finished objects to talk to you about, one of which I'm wearing, the other 2 I don't have here with me. And some whips, some that we talked about the other week, some that are new, and let's get into it. So, what am I wearing? That's the exciting one. It's the first finished object. If I'm looking down here, it's because I've got my list of things I want to talk about down here. So the first thing to talk about is what I'm wearing, and this is my first finished object. So technically I knit most of this last year, but I finished it this year and I couldn't talk about it last year. So this is the Orma Cardigan by Wedge, I think, of In Her Skein. This was a secret test knit that I did last year, so I couldn't show you it, and I finished most of it last year. I did everything I needed to for the test knit, which was the body and 1 sleeve, and I just needed to do the 2nd sleeve, which I've completed this last couple of weeks since I filmed last, and sent off the finished object photos and everything. And the reason I couldn't show you was, and the reason it was secret, is because it's in Laine magazine at May 2025, the one that's just come out, which I bought myself. So as a thank you for the test, we got a discount code or a free pattern from Mario's store, but there was also a discount code for the pre-order of Laine magazine as well. So of course I've got that, and there's some stunning things in there, but this is absolutely gorgeous. So let me come up a bit closer and show you the texture, because you're not going to be able to see it. The Orma Cardigan has got this all over beautiful sort of eyelet texture. It's on the sleeves as well, it's on everything, and then it's got this sort of deep 3x3 rib on everywhere. Mine doesn't have buttons. I chose not to put buttons on mine, but you could do it with buttons, and I did mine to a slightly cropped length, which I think is about the length it's supposed to be in pattern. If I come back a little bit, you can see a bit better there. But it's just a nice, I think I did size 6. It's a nice oversized, loose, airy, drapey cardigan with these beautiful texture all over it that almost makes it a bit sort of rustic but a little bit whimsical, and makes it really, really wearable with so many different things. So I'm super happy with this. Let me sit down. Also, my test failed. He hasn't come and joined us yet. I can hear him moving about. Pepper? You gonna come see? Nope, I've been ditched. What was I saying? Yeah, so I love this. I love this. I have worn this quite a lot since I finished it. So it's got round neck as well. I don't think I said that at the beginning. Round neck. It's a drop shoulder construction. So you start at the back, you knit some of the back, you then come and do your fronts, and then you join under your arms and you knit flat, and then you do your sleeves, you do your button bands and everything. I really liked knitting this. It was a bit arduous in places. It's an all over textured cardigan on 3.5mm needles. Yeah, so it's a bit of a labour of love, but it's so gorgeous, the outcome. And I knit mine, so it was intended to be knit with Wool Dreamer's Siona, which I think is a merino cotton blend. I've got a skein of it, a ball of it, that I won in a giveaway last year, but I only had the one ball. So I decided not to do that, and I've gone a little bit different with mine. So Wool Dreamer's Siona, if you've ever used it or come across it, it's quite a plump fingering weight yarn. It almost feels to me a little bit more like a light DK. It's very plump, very round, very airy. And I've done mine in one strand of woolly knit, so very different. If you've used woolly knit, this is their British Wool 4-ply. If you've used them before, you will know that it's quite a fine fingering weight yarn. It's more like a light fingering. But I got gauge and on 3.5mm needles, and it blocked. Woolly knit for me is one of my favourite yarns for a couple of reasons. It's very budget friendly, comes in a gorgeous range of colours. It's a really nice way to get some fairly affordable British wool yarn at nice quality British wool yarn at an affordable price and in a decent amount, because it comes on cones. It comes on 500g cones, so you get like 2,000 something meters per cone, and it blocks absolutely beautifully. So it's really nice and rustic and sturdy and hard wearing. That's the phrase I'm looking for. So I've been wearing this quite a lot since I finished it. There is not a single bit of pilling. There's a bit of my hair on it, but there's no pilling at all. I can't see a thing. And obviously I wouldn't see massive amounts because of the texture, but like there's nothing. It is so hard wearing, but it's still soft. It's 100% British wool, so it's not like merino soft, but I have no problem with this next to skin. This is absolutely fine for me. There is zero itch factor, and it blooms beautifully in blocking. I wish I'd taken a before and after of blocking with this, because it blooms so beautifully. And it is a bit like, generally I find my tension when I'm knitting is quite even. I'm quite lucky in that, so I get quite even stitches. An example of that we're going to come on to later is let's have a look at this, for example. So this is 100% cotton. And I know a lot of people have problems with the tension on 100% cotton, but I don't know if you can see, my stitches are really nice and even. I'm quite lucky. It feels like a bit of a humble brag, doesn't it? But I've never really had problems with tension issues. I've never really had problems with rowing out. This is pre-blocking, 100% cotton, nice and even. I say that to illustrate the fact that when I'm working with wool in it, my tension looks awful. It's a very fine yarn, and when you're knitting with it, you're looking at your knitting and you're going, what am I doing? This looks terrible. This looks so uneven. It doesn't, but you block it and it evens out wonderfully. It blooms wonderfully. So what looks like quite a thin, gappy fabric blooms into this beautiful sort of filled in, soft, drapey fabric. And the tension evens out as well. So it's going to be hard to show you. Like, how neat does my rib look? My rib does not normally look this neat, full stop. And very definitely didn't when I was knitting on it before. It looked awful. But blocking with this stuff is absolutely gorgeous. So I really highly rate wool in it, and it's been perfect for this. This is the shade Light Natural Twist, and it's like one of those Barber Pauline yarns. So if I come back up again, oh God, I'm struggling to get in the camera today. You can see it's sort of this beige with flecks of white, and it is almost like 2 strands held together. It's a 4-ply yarn, so it's probably 2 plies of each, isn't it? Held together. and I wasn't sure what to do with it, and then I swatched with it for this pattern, and because when you knit it up, it almost just creates an overall mild neutral effect. It's a really, really wearable colour, particularly for this pattern. I feel like it's gone really well with it. It wears really well. It wears with the colour, because it works as that sort of neutral, it wears really well with lots of other colours. It's not so, you know, it's almost like a, it is almost like a neutral as well. It's not too warm toned, it's not too cool toned, it's just very much almost a greyish kind of colour, sort of a stony browny grey colour, but light with those flecks of white in, and it's made it so wearable. So I didn't initially wear it very much when I finished it because we were having a bit of a heat wave in the UK. So the last thing I wanted was an all over wool jumper. But when the temperatures dropped a little bit over the last few days, and I've had this on every single day. This has become sort of a really easy throw on piece. The one thing I will say is the sleeves are a little bit long. They're not bad when I'm sat down, but when I'm stood up, they're a little bit long. And I think that's me. I think I've been a little bit too aggressive with blocking because I wanted to make sure the sleeves were nice and long. So I've gone too far the other way, unfortunately. But I think you might have seen at the beginning, I've just been wearing them when I'm working and stuff. I've been wearing them with the sleeves rolled back, and it works perfectly well like that. And that gives me a perfect sort of bracelet length, so it keeps them out of the way when I'm working. And then if I want to be a bit cozier, I can just sort of roll them down. But this, I've only put it on with one thing that it doesn't go with. So I've got it on today with like this really thin plain grey jumper. I've had it on with a lilac t-shirt. I've had it on with band t-shirts. I've had it on with a really bright floral dress. The dress that I had on in my last episode, actually, I've had it on top of that. Looks great. The only thing it didn't look good with was a v-neck. And the dress is a v-neck and it looked fine with the dress. This particular top, I don't know if it was because it was black and white stripes as well, and I don't know if it was just too much, and I was just like, you know what, I could get away with it, but it's not the best, so I'm going to change. But it goes with so much, and it just looks so effortlessly polished, but without being too over the top. It's still casual. Yeah, I love this pattern. I love how it looks, and I think I've really, really hit well with the combination of yarn and colour and pattern on this one, and I'm really pleased with it. I know, you know, I've put all this effort and time into it because it's 3.5mm needles and all over textured cardigan. It's taken me a long time. It has taken me a long time. But I know because I've used wool in it that it's so sturdy that I'm going to have a really long wearing piece here as well. So it means that I'm not so bothered about the fact that it took a long time because I'm going to get a lot of wear out of it. Yeah. Super happy with this, super happy. Marie-Eve a couple of days ago put up a test call for a beautiful summer top called the Floret Tee, I think it is. I really had to restrain myself from applying for that. I didn't apply for it, but I'm very definitely going to be knitting that when it comes out. And I think this was the first garment design she'd done, and she's now started to do more. She's done a lot of socks and things like that, which we're going to come on to in a minute. But the way this was written was really easy to follow, really well size inclusive, very size inclusive, really well graded, really well explained. All the charts were great. It was charted. I think it was just charted, not written, so it's worth bearing that in mind. But yeah, if that is her first garment is anything to go by, any other garments that come out that she does will be exactly the same. Really well written, really easy to understand, really size inclusive, and some really beautiful design aesthetics coming out of them as well. So very highly recommend. So that's the Orma Cardigan, my first finished object. I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee. I've got a bit of a sore throat today, so apologies if I sound a bit croaky. Anyway, 2 more finished objects and we'll stick on the Marie-Eve train. I don't have either of these with me because these were both gifts. So last week we went to a big family meal for my mother-in-law. It was her 60th birthday. It was a big birthday. And we had a surprise party, and I think I'd mentioned in the previous episode that I was knitting a Renunculus for her, and that's one of my finished objects, so we'll talk about that in a sec. Yeah, I was knitting a Renunculus for her, and I had, my other half had said, could I maybe do her some socks? And I was strategic with my response to that. So what I did was you may remember, back end of last year, I did another test for Marie-Eve within her skein, the same designer behind the Orma, who, it was for the Prato socks, which were these lovely, I'll put a picture on screen because I haven't got them, they've been gifted. Mostly stockinette socks with a lacework cuff that's intended to look like trees, and then a lateral braid around the bottom of the cuff, a lateral braid at the top of the heel flap, but the rest was just pure stockinette. And I knit the first one last year as part of the test in Blue Fern Yarn sock base in the shade Plum Crumble, and I decided they were a little bit on the small side for me. They were a little bit short, and they probably would have been fine for me. I was going to potentially gift them to my mum, but she's got like slightly smaller feet than me as well. So when my other half said that, I thought, you know what, I bet I've got a month. I think I had a month when he was talking about it. I could quite easily just finish the second sock and then I'm good. So I did. And I think I cast on probably the afternoon that I'd filmed last time. So I finished these in basically 2 weeks. It took me about a week to finish the cuff, because the cuff is lacework, twisted stitches, bobbles, all this sort of stuff. So that was quite intense. And then I blistered through the rest of that sock in about a week. I did get to the end and discover, this is the problem with not keeping very good notes, because I don't usually. I thought, I'd gone back through my videos, I tried to find if I talked about the size that I'd made, and I hadn't. And I had tried to read my knitting and I thought I'd picked the right size. And I got to the end and I was like, these look different. Why do these look different? And I thought maybe I just blocked one a bit more aggressively or something like that. And I was on a call at work at the time, I think, and I'm putting them on each other and I'm looking at them and I'm just sort of like, okay, I'm gonna have to come back to this later. And then I looked at the cuffs and I was like, there's a bit between, basically between the repeats of the chart, you have a bit of just twisted rib where basically that's where the adjustment and stitch count over the different sizes is. Does that make sense? So you have slightly more or less twisted rib depending on how many stitches you need, and you've got the same number of repeats of the chart around the sides. And I thought I'd got this completely right, but I lined them up and I was like, hang on, there's 3 twisted rib columns there and there's 4 on that one. I'd made the second one in the bigger size, so I couldn't work out how I'd got it bigger, because I'd counted, I'd gone on the first sock and I'd counted how many I'd done in the leg, and I'd counted how many rows I'd done in the leg and how many rows I'd done in the foot, so I'd got exactly the same number of rows. So I put them together and was like, how have I possibly done this? And that's the difference, is that I think I'd done a 64 stitch sock on the first one, or a 68 stitch, and I've done 72 on the second one, so I've got these extra stitches in there. And it's just made the whole thing a little bit bigger. And this was, I noticed this the day of, I think it was day of or day before we were supposed to go for I think it was the day before we were supposed to go for this. No, it was day of, because I was wrapping them up. That we're supposed to go for this meal, and I was like, well, I can't, there is literally no way I can finish another sock in. I think I had about 3 hours. There's no way I can do that. It took me ages to do the cuff. And I thought, right, there's 2 options here. Either I get the first one and I block it more aggressively and I try and make it to the same size, or I don't give them, basically. And I didn't do either of those things in the end. In the end, I put them on my feet and I just sort of went, can I tell a difference? And I couldn't tell a difference in how I put them on. I couldn't tell a difference in how they fit or anything. So I just thought, well, if I can't tell and I know there's a difference there, she isn't going to be able to. It'll be fine. So they weren't perfect, but they were appreciated. So they've gone and they've used up most of that skein. Most of that skein of blue fern yarns. I have got the rest put to one side to make a Yorkshire blanket square out of it, my scrappy Yorkshire blanket, and then the rest of it will go into probably my 6-day star blanket, which we're going to come on to, my proper scrappy magic knot ball project. But yeah, that was a bit of I was so glad to have them done. And I've actually cast on another sock, which we're going to talk about, because actually I found I really enjoyed having a sock to do, coming back and finishing a sock. But when we're on that stockinette portion of it, I found it was really good for meetings. I flew through the foot of it and everything, because when I was just on calls at work, I was just grabbing it and just working on it. And because it's pure stockinette, I didn't have to think about anything. It was really nice and easy. So maybe that's the way forward, is almost like using second sock syndrome to my advantage, and then making a sock and then coming back and making the second sock when I feel like doing another sock. But yeah, they were gifted, along with the Renunculus, which I'll pop a picture up on screen. So this was the Renunculus, if you've not heard of it, is a pattern by Midori Hirose. I think she used to be called Knit Cafe Midori. It's now, she just goes by Midori Hirose. That's obviously her name. And it is, I think it's probably the most popular pattern on Ravelry. It is always in the hot right now. I think it's got something ridiculous, like 25,000 plus projects on Ravelry or something now. And every time I look at it, it's got more. This is my 3rd that I've finished. I'm making a 4th and I've got plans for at least 1 more, if not 2 more. I absolutely love this pattern. I think I tend to be somebody that shies away from hyped up patterns, and we're going to touch on it. I'm doing a series of me knitting the more hyped up patterns to see if they're actually worth it, kind of thing. Except for the Renunculus. The Renunculus is the exception to that. There is something about it. I think it's a combination of the gauge, the interesting stitches, the way it's written, the fact that it's super customizable. You could omit the texture and stuff and just have a really nicely fitting t-shirt. But I knit the 4th size, I think. Yeah, I knit the 4th size, and I altered it a little bit, ever so slightly. So there's a couple of little edits to this. And like I say, it is a super adaptable pattern, so I think that's why so many people knit it. I knit it in size 4 in Drops Belle in the shade Almond Rose. I called it Antique Rose last time, and that's completely wrong. That shade doesn't exist. It's Almond Rose, which is this beautiful dusky pinky taupey colour. It's really nice. Not my kind of colour, although it does look good on me. It's just not a colour that I'm very drawn to. But it's very much her kind of colour, and hopefully she'll like it. I used just over 5 balls. I think I had to break into the 6th ball, so I did have to get some more, and I got some off a D-stash off Ravelry. But yeah, so 6 balls of Drops Belle would do this for you. And I think King Cole Linnerdale and Sanders Lena are the same yardage in the balls, so you could have 6 balls of either of those in there as well. So Sanders Lena and King Cole Linnerdale, if you're unaware, are very, very similar compositions. I think Sanders Garn Lena is exactly the same composition, and Linnerdale is ever so slightly different. I think I've got a ball band there. Let me just see if I can grab that and I can tell you what the composition is. Incredibly graceful. Yes, okay, so this is, so it's 53% cotton, 33% viscose, 14% linen. 50 gram ball gives you 120 meters, and it recommends 4mm needles, 21 stitches and 28 rows. I really, really love this yarn. It's one of my favourite summer yarns. I am currently knitting in some Linnerdale. I haven't ever tried Sanders Lena, but that combination, there's something about that combination of cotton and viscose and polyester. Wow, it's not polyester at all, linen. Where did I get polyester from? I think Linnerdale, I haven't got a ball band for Linnerdale here. I think it's ever so slightly different. I think it's maybe slightly more cotton, slightly less linen, but we're talking like a percentage point difference. It is so slightly different that it's basically the same thing. And the difference between the 3 is they have different colour ranges. So if you can't find a colour that you like in one, you might well find something in the others. And Linnerdale has some variegated colours in it, which doesn't. In fact, I do have a ball to hand. Okay, so this is one of the variegated colourways. Like I say, King Cole has some, it has this Linnerdale Reflections, which is variegated colourways. They have some solids as well, and we're going to show you one of those. But it's an ever so slightly different composition. So 57% cotton, 30% viscose, 13% linen, 120 meters per 50 grams. So same yardage, I think. Yeah, completely the same yardage, ever so slightly different composition. Feels a little bit softer to work with. And like I say, they have some variegated colourways, whereas Sanders and Drops don't. But this was a really good combo of pattern and yarn again. After the issues last week with maybe choosing the wrong yarns for stuff, this time I've really hit well. So this was an extremely good choice. And the Drops Belle for that Ranunculus was so beautiful. It had such a nice drape to it. It was really nice and cool and everything like that. And I can imagine it'd be really, really nice to wear. I said I made some alterations and then completely forgot to tell you about them, didn't I? So I have found a couple of times that the neckline can be a little bit tight on ranunculi. And I don't mind that when it's for me, because I'm comfortable tugging stuff about. I made it so I can fix it. When it was for a gift, didn't want it to be too tight going over her head. So basically what I did is I used a long tail cast on, which is what I normally use to cast on for the Ranunculus and pretty much everything, let's be honest. But I cast on 10 more stitches than it told me to cast on. So I think it tells you like maybe 50 and I cast on 60. Those aren't the right numbers, but I cast on 10 additional. And then when it came to doing the increases, so you work your rib and you do some increases to get up to your body stitch count, I did a different increase rate so that I increased the right number of stitches to get up to the correct number of stitches for my body. So I kept the body count the same, but I changed the cast on count for the rib. Does that make sense? If anything, it was a little bit wider than I would have personally liked, but I still think it looked really good. And I think it'll suit her really nicely. I would probably for myself have gone with the smaller one, actually, having trialled that, but I was really worried, especially with the summer yarn that doesn't have loads of stretch in it. It's really quite solid. I didn't want it to be so tight. So I did that and that worked out nicely. The other thing that I do that's slightly different is the Ranunculus doesn't have sleeves like this in the pattern. So there are two options for sleeves in the pattern. There are long sleeved and short sleeved. But the short sleeved version isn't the version that I do. So the short sleeve basically has you do your yoke, and I forgot to say last time, but I think one of the things that makes the Ranunculus so popular is that it's an exceptionally good fit. And the reason for me that it's an exceptionally good fit is because you have a round yoke with all of your lace and everything on it and all the beautifulness, but then you have raglan to get it to the right size. And for me, that combination of round yoke plus raglan fits really, really well. So that is a really, you know, really nice little detail there. And I think that must be the case for a lot of other people, because I think that's one of the reasons it's so popular. So you do your round yoke, you do your raglan increases, and then basically when you split for body and sleeves, you work your body. And for the short sleeve version in the pattern, it essentially has you come back and get those sleeve stitches that are on hold and bind them off, and that's your sleeve. And it's not a super short sleeve, but I just didn't want it like that. The version that I had before, that I've gifted to Mona, my friend, who, because it doesn't fit me anymore, was basically I'd picked up, I'd done 5 rounds of stockinette, 5 rounds of rib, and then I bound off. I did it slightly different for this one for my mother-in-law. I did 10 rounds of stockinette, 5 rounds of rib, bound off, and I really like that length. So for me, that's my like formula now for that. But that literally is all I do. I don't do any decreases or anything like that. I pick up the stitches that it tells you to do. I do 10 rounds of stockinette, I do 5 rounds of twisted rib. You could do more twisted rib if you wanted, and then I bound off, and that's it. So that isn't in the pattern, but I did that. And otherwise I knit completely to pattern. I don't think I knit to the length suggested in pattern. I just kept trying it on until I thought it was a length that was right, and then I added the rib and then I bound off. But yeah, very happy with this. Again, really, really enjoyable pattern. Had I sat and just knitted on this, I could have got it done in a week easily, and yeah, really, really happy. It was a bit of a nightmare to weave the ends in. It always is in plant-based yarn. But I think I did an alright job of it, and I've basically gifted both of them with care instructions, and then said at the bottom of it, if there are any issues, I can probably fix them. If something breaks, if something goes wrong, please, you know, please let me know, or let my husband know, and I can take it back and I can fix it. So hopefully she likes it. It was so busy at the party because my husband's got a big family, and a lot of his siblings have kids and grandkids. You know, a lot of his siblings have kids, so she's got lots of grandkids around. She's got a few siblings, so there's cousins, aunties, uncles, all that sort of stuff. So she didn't get around to opening the presents there, but he has had a message saying she really likes them. So hopefully, yeah, we're all good. But they're my 3 finished objects for the for this podcast episode. What I was going to say is that Drops Belle is a really cost-effective way to do Ranunculus as well. I got it when it was on offer, but it's not super expensive anyway. But I think I paid about £2 a ball on Wool Warehouse. So for £12, because I use 6 balls, you could have enough to do a full Ranunculus, which is really, really mad. We're going to stick on the Ranunculus kick, not the Ranunculus kick, sorry, the Drops Belle kick, because I've got a couple of other things in that and Dale. No, I'm going to tell you about the sock first because I'll get it over and done with. So like I said, I cast on another sock because I was really enjoying working on that having that really small project to work on. So I've cast on the second sock to this. You may remember this from last year. The reason I've not got the project to show you is because it's in the car, because I've kept it in the car for when I'm waiting, like to pick my other half up from work, or when I'm in, you know, anything like that, when I'm going anywhere and waiting. This is the Slip It Simple Socks I think it's by Christine Long Derks is the name. I could have got that completely wrong. I'll pop it on screen or down below. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's a slip stitch pattern that gives you this really nice effect. And this is a sock set from Dystopic Fibre Yarns that I got a couple of years back. I made a slight alteration to the pattern in that I did 1x1 twisted rib for 10 rounds at the top. But yeah, essentially I've cast on the second one, and I'm just about 3 rows into the cuff, but that's in the car, and I'm picking that up and working on it when I need a car project. What I will most likely do once I finish the cuff is bring it back in, and then I can work on the leg and everything on meetings and stuff. But it's a beautiful, beautiful yarn with this sort of almost like micro striping, and then this beautiful slip stitch pattern, which I really, really like. I love these socks. So that's that one that's being worked on, and now we're going to get into the Drops Belle kick. So this is completely new. You've not seen this. I'm going to pop it on a hanger because I think it'll show it off a bit better. You've not seen this at all, and I'm so happy with it. I mentioned last time we spoke, that I was going to be working on I thought I had my long cable here that I could have shown you it. I was going to be working on a test knit for Knitting for Breakfast, but I hadn't started it. And I have made a lot of progress on this since then. I hadn't even started it when we spoke last time, but I've done a lot. This has taken most of my knitting time, and I've been absolutely loving it because look how beautiful that is. How stunning. This is one of those, I made that. So this is the Minerva Tee by Knitting for Breakfast, like I said. This is a top-down circular yoke lacy summer t-shirt pattern with rolled edge details, sort of mid-length lacy cuffs. You can see the lace again on there, and then just a plain body with a little bit of rib at the bottom. And I'm flying on this. So I actually cast this on 4 or 5 times. I think this is the 5th time I've cast this on. And it's only a couple of weeks since I filmed last, and yeah, I've done all of this. So there's a couple of things that have led to it being so quick and so easy for me to work on. So first off, it's quite a large gauge. It is, let me tell you what went wrong with the previous cast on. So I cast on initially with some yarn that I had in stash. And it was variegated. It was 2 strands of lace weight held together. The pattern calls for 2 strands of lace weight held together, and it's some yarn by an Italian dyer, I think, that I've never come across before. Didn't really have easy access to. There was a discount code in the test, but it would have taken so long to get it, and obviously I'm trying to stash down as well. So I tried with 2 strands of lace weight from my stash, but they were both variegated. It was 2 strands of the same colour held together. And whilst it was getting gauged perfectly, it was a little bit warmer than I wanted it to be, because it was more like theirs is like a, I think it might be like a lace weight linen, one of them. So it's very much summery fibres. Mine wasn't. Mine was like an acrylic wool, something else blend. And it was not that sort of summery feel that I wanted. And it also, because it was variegated, I was working through the lace. I had got into the lace, and I was just like, you know what, it's obscuring the lace quite a bit. I'm not going to wear this as much as I want to, because I do really love this, so I'm not going to do that. And I'd already had to do 2 cast-ons on that because I'd messed up the first one, so I had to do the second one. I ordered some yarn. So I ordered some drops Nord and some drops mohair to hold together, because I think the original pattern has a lace weight linen held with a lace weight mohair. And that was getting gauge, and I was really happy with that, actually. So drops Nord, I think, it's fingering weight, but I think it's a wool alpaca nylon blend. I think it's a wool alpaca sock yarn, I think, so it has that nylon in it as well. And I had a sort of a lilac-y shade in one and a pinky shade in the other, and it was creating this beautiful sort of lilac-y pinky, I can't really explain it, but really, really nice. And I will make one in that combo. That's still going to become one of those. But that was more of that was more of a wintry one. What I really wanted this version to be, is a summer top. And I was going to just go ahead with the drops the drops mohair and Nord. And then somebody in the test chat shared their yoke that they were working on, and it was in drops Belle. Now, we already know I'm having a bit of a kick with drops Belle at the moment, but it looked incredible. The stitch definition, it just gave it a completely different vibe. I'll pop on screen a picture of their sample, and that's what they intended it to look like. But again, this is a really good example of how yarn choice can change what you get out of a pattern, because I've got a very different look, but still an absolutely gorgeous look, I think. The stitch definition is a lot more pronounced. You get a lot more pronounced sort of this lace, that's a lot more pronounced in the cables at the bottom, but it's not so lightweight and ethereal. You know, you get different vibes from both of them. And then if I do it in the Nord and the mohair, it will be a much thicker, like a sweater basically, and you could do these sleeves long and make it into a sweater version, which is probably what I'll do. But it's a 19 stitch gauge, so even with those 2 lace weight yarns held together, it is quite an open, loose gauge, and I was able to get 19 stitches absolutely fine with drops Belle on 4.5mm needles. And when I saw, like I say, when I saw this other tester doing it in drops Belle, I instantly thought, well, I've got some in stash in this teal colour. So I'd got some teal at the same time as I got the almond rose for my mother-in-law's ranunculus. It's not teal, it's called petrol, this colour, and it's beautiful. That's quite true to life. A really deep, nuanced, tealy, purpley, bluey, greeny colour. Absolutely gorgeous and really suits me. And I thought, do you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it in those colours. Oh, actually, that's Almond Rose. I've got some on, it's on hold on the sleeve stitches. But yeah, I cast on for the 4th time. I messed up the cast on, so I had to then do it again 5th time. But since then, I have done the entirety of the yoke, all of one sleeve, and several inches of the body. I think I'm about 7 inches into the body. I'm gonna today, after we've finished filming, I'm going to pick up for the 2nd sleeve and work that. I worked this pretty much entirely except for like the last three or four rows. I worked this during Eurovision the other day, so I did this one night. The reason I haven't picked up the 2nd sleeve is because the cable's snapping. My small cable that I was using has started to snap at this end, and it was catching on the yarn, and I just thought I'm gonna start knitting on it, and I'll end up dropping all my stitches off. So yeah, so the test knit comes to an end in a couple of weeks at the end of May, and this is going to be done by then. And yeah, I'm so happy with this. I really want to be able to wear this when we go away, because it's going to be a really nice wearable piece, I think. Summer yarn, DK weight, so a little bit heavier than you might expect, but such a gorgeous yoke, such a gorgeous yoke. So next time I film, I'm hoping that this will be done and I'll be able to show you properly. But really happy with this. This has taken most of my knitting time and most of my focus, because how could it not? Look how gorgeous it is. So happy with this. And I'm going to touch really briefly on another project that I'm making using King Cole Linendale, but I'm not going to go into much detail on this because I'm going to be filming a project vlog on this. So this weird little bit, this is King Cole Linendale in one of the solid colours in the shade Cherry, and how good is that red? It's so good. And I've cast on a Tolsta Cami. So the Tolsta Cami is bottom up. So I literally just have some ribbon at the moment. Again, this was from my local yarn shop. They were selling this off for like, I think £1.50 a ball, something like that. This and the reflections, because they've got rid of it to make space for, they've started stocking drops, which is lethal. And I know I'm on a yarn ban, I know I shouldn't have done it, but I've been loving Belle so much that it seemed like a no-brainer to be able to try one of the alternatives and also get it at a budget price. So yeah, this is going to be a Tolsta Cami. Like I say, I'm doing a project vlog on this. I've not done much so far. I've literally just got like a few rows of ribbon. I've literally just got a few rows of ribbon, and I'm going to do a project vlog on this because I'm going to do a series of project vlogs where I essentially knit more hyped designers and patterns. I realise the Tolsta Tee is more hyped than the Cami, but the Cami for me is going to be more wearable, because I've got quite a few knitted tees, particularly with things like the Minerva. I've got quite a few of those in my wardrobe, but I don't have a Cami. So I'm going to be knitting from the Crayabaya the Tolsta Cami. And I'm not going to go into any more details other than that, other than to tell you there will be a project vlog coming with this. Okay, now what? So, Lakeside Dress. Let's go into this one. Okay, sorry if the framing has changed a bit, hasn't it? I knocked it and it dropped. Lakeside Dress, that's what I was talking about. So I showed this to you last time. This is a test knit for, oh God, this is a nightmare. What a mess. This is a test knit for Lea of Lea Amber Makes, who is the Ruby and Pearls podcast here on YouTube. If you haven't watched her, I would recommend her. And it's very tangled. It's just gonna have to do. It's just gonna have to do. I'll sort it properly in a bit. I think one of the balls of yarn's gone down the middle. So when I showed you this last time, I was joined in the round and I was working down the body, and we now have a this is a dress, as the name might suggest. We now have a I-cord channel and the beginnings of a skirt. So I was going to try and put this on and show you. Actually, let me see if I can get it a little bit more untangled, and then I can. I might struggle with this because it's so tangled. I am having a love-hate relationship with this, if I'm entirely honest, and this is entirely my own fault. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you this because it's so tangled. I need a bit more time to properly untangle it. Let me see if I can pop it on. It's going to look weird over the top of this jumper as well. Just bear that in mind. Okay, yeah, I can actually. Am I losing stitches? No. Okay, let me come back and I can show you properly. It looks like it's a bit small. a bit short and it looks a bit strange, but I'm very happy with how this is looking and where I think the potential is going to go. So the top fits really, really nicely. My only slight concern, and I'm hoping this will be sorted with the edging because I haven't put that on, is that this is my bra strap here and this is where the strap sits, but I'm really hoping that with blocking and with the edging it will sit a little bit flatter and pull a little bit wider and it will cover most of my bra strap. It is also currently a little bit short as to where it's, so the I-cord channel is sitting here. My thinnest part of me is here. So there is quite a difference, but bear in mind, there is going to be a lot of weight on this. And I think with blocking, Lea does advise this in the pattern as well, with blocking, with the weight of the skirt, it's going to sit really, really nicely. The love-hate relationship I have is completely my own fault because I've decided to do it in 100% cotton and it's really, oh God, I've lost stitches. Okay, got it back on the needles. Yeah, so I've done this in 100% cotton, which is not the recommended yarn for the pattern, but I wanted to use up what I had in stash. And the slight issue with that is that it's sore on my hands. It's sore on my hands. So I'm using Drop Saffron. Oh my God, the tangle. Drop Saffron in the shade Navy, which is 100% 4-ply cotton, and it is coming out really lovely. What's that on the front of it? Dog hair. It's coming out really, really lovely. And then what I've done on the skirt, so the top is knit on 2.5mm needles at quite a tight gauge to give you that nice tight fitting top that you want. And then the bottom, after the I-cord channel, you switch to 4mm needles and you work with either 2 strands of fingering weight held together to get a DK weight or a single strand of DK weight, which is what I'm going to switch to. But the recommended yarn is something like Yarn Art Flowers, I think it's called, and I'm pretty certain it's like a cotton acrylic blend or cotton something blend. Drop Saffron, which is what I'm using because it's what I had in stash, is 100% cotton. And then I'm going to go into, I haven't got the navy here, I don't actually know where the navy is, which is a bit worrying. I've got some James C. Brett, very inventively named, it's 100% pure DK cotton. I wonder what composition it could be. I've got some in the shade Navy. It's a very similar navy. It's an ever so slightly darker navy. And then I've got this, I think it calls it cream, but like that's white. That's not cream, that's white. But anyway, I'm not bothered about that. What I'm going to do is very shortly, because I've not got much of these left, I'm going to start fading into that other navy. And then I'm going to start adding some very thin cream stripes. It is going so much quicker now I'm on the skirt bit. It just does hurt my hands. I can do sort of about half an hour on it at a time before I have to have a break because it's 100% cotton. It hurts. It just does. But it is going so much more quickly now I'm on the skirt. And I've already said to Lea, I'm not going to finish by the deadline because my plan, I didn't plan to do this, but this is what I think I will wear the most. I'm going to make this a maxi length dress. I am mad. I must be mad. I want to just keep going until this is proper floor length on me, basically. Which means I will need a bit more of probably the navy and the cream, but definitely the navy. I think I've got 3 balls of that navy, the James C. Brett DK one, and I'm going to need probably at least 1 more on top of that. They've got quite good yardage in them. 215 meters per 100 grams, but I'm going to need some more if I'm making it floor length because, like I say, 6 foot tall, lot of length to cover before the floor. But it does mean I'm not going to finish it before the deadline, but what I am going to do is try and get it to like a midi length and give her some feedback and then just keep going at my own pace, and I've already made her aware of that. When I spoke to her about it, I wasn't 100% certain that that's what I was going to do. The more I think about it, the more that's what I want to do. Look at the mess I've just made trying to try that on. Oh my God, it's going to take me ages to untangle. And I'll be very glad to use up this Drop Saffron because, say, I've not had the best time working with it this time. It hurts my hands. But yeah, coming along really nicely. I think she's going to look at releasing the camisole on its own as a top, as a standalone. It's such a nice fitting camisole. It's really, really nice. So that's the main, that's taken a lot of time as well. The other things I wanted to show you, that's pretty much everything I've been working on. I am working on a sample knit for Lauren of Wild Pearl Yarns, another shawl, and I'm being a bit sneaky because I know she watches the videos and I want to surprise her when she gets it back, so I haven't been showing it on here, and I'm not going to show it on here until it's done because I want to be able to completely surprise her with it. It's gorgeous. She's got such good eye patterns and her colours, as always, are gorgeous. I have ordered her advent this year. Like I said, it was the one that got away last year, so I'm really excited for that. And the only other thing I wanted to update you on is my 6-day star blanket. This is my scrappy project that I'm doing with basically magic knot balls, and I'm just crocheting the 6-day star blanket pattern, and I am just going with it. I am not managing colour changes or anything, and I just wanted to show you because it has developed a bit further from, sorry, checking out, my watch was basically telling me I need to stand up and move because I've been sat for too long. Yeah, I'm not managing colour changes or anything. I've just been going with it when the colour changes happen. And what I love about this is that every time a new colour comes in, it just completely changes the look of the project. And I wanted to show you where we're at. So, oh, really good reveal when it's folding in on itself. This is what we're looking like now. I think when I showed you it last time, we were at this white band. So I've added quite a bit since then. There is this absolutely gorgeous, really hot green here, which is stunning. There's a bright blue over this side. Yeah, there's some variegated yarns here, some colour changing, self-striping, there we go, that's the word. Over there, I'm so happy with this. This is properly joyful and just growing slowly. It is much bigger, isn't it, than last time I showed you it. It is now big enough that it covers my lap, just. I think I'm about on, I should be like 4 days in, and you're supposed to do 6 days, so I am going to need to make it bigger. I can't remember if I said last time, this is designed for like DK to Aran weight yarn, and I'm doing this in fingering weight, so mine is going to use up a lot more yarn to get to the same size, but that's not a bad thing because I really want to use up these scraps. So yeah, this is what we're looking like. It's just absolutely glorious. I am coming to the end of my first magic knot ball, which I didn't think would go so quickly. I thought it would take me a lot longer, but I just flashed it then. I've got another one that I've made up, and I've got loads more scraps. I do also have a couple that I purchased from a friend of mine that she's made, 2 scrap cakes. A friend of mine who's in one of the craft chat groups I'm in. But I'm tempted to keep those out of this, because this is essentially like my memories blanket. Everything means something in here. There's bits that, like I said before, some of this is leftover little scraps from a sample that I did for Botanical Yarns. This is a scrap of a sample from Dyed in the Wool yarns. This blue is from my dad's Musselburgh. What else have we got? This is from some socks I made for my mum. This purple is one of the squares in my Yorkshire blanket. There's meaning to so much of this, and I kind of want to keep it like things that mean something. In here we've got some of the advent swap that I did last year, and there's some of my blue fern yarn advent in there as well. So they've all got meaning, they've all got memory to them, and yeah, I think I kind of want to keep this one a properly personal memory project, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm so happy with how it's turning out. I just love it so much. It's just going to be this massive explosion of colour that sits on our sofa, and I keep myself warm under, and yeah, I'm really happy with it. I just keep putting in a few rows here and there on this whenever I feel like I want a break from my other projects, which happening fairly regularly at the moment. I find I'm getting a bit of pain. So crochet is a really good break for that, because it's a different movement for me. Because I'm an English style knitter, I hold the yarn in, which side do I hold my yarn when I'm knitting? You know, when you just can't think. I'm pretty certain I hold my yarn in my right hand and I flick, whereas when I crochet I hold the yarn in my left hand. Yes, that's right. So it's a different, it sort of engages different muscles, and it gives me a break if I'm having pain in my hands and things like that. So I've been plugging away on that as and when, and I'm really enjoying it. I wanted to give you a bit of an update on plans for the next couple of weeks as well. So yeah, I've got a couple of weeks before we go away, and then we're away for the best part of 2 weeks as well. And what I'm planning on doing is I'm planning on pre-filming some stuff, so that there is some stuff coming out before we go. I'm going to try and pre-film a podcast for you, so you've got an update on where I'm at with stuff. I'm probably not going to film much while we're away. I did think I might take my Tolsta, and if I do, then there will be bits of that project log that will be while we're away. But essentially this is our honeymoon, so I'm not going to be filming while we're away, because I'm going to be there with my husband having a wonderful time. I'm hoping to also film in the next couple of weeks before we go away a couple of pattern roundups, and the reason I say 2 is because I want to do one for crochet and one for knitting, and I'm going to split them into separate videos because I realise that not everybody wants to watch both crafts. So I'm going to be putting those up hopefully while we're away. or maybe, I wanted your thoughts on that actually. I'm toying with the idea of I could either put them up back to back, so you've got them both at the same time, and if you're a knitter you can watch the knitter, if you're knitting one, if you're a crochet you can watch the crochet one, or I could spread them out by months, so I could do a knitted one and then next month with other videos in between I could do a crocheted one, and I don't know which one's the best to do. I do want to separate them because I've got enough patterns to talk about in each one to keep it separate. And again, I realise I do both crafts, but not everybody does both crafts, so then you can pick and choose which one you want to watch. But I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that, see which one you like, which one you don't. So yeah, that's the plans for the next couple of weeks, what you can expect from me. There'll be another podcast coming, there'll be a couple of other videos I want to get out before, or at least one other video I want to get out before we go away, and then a podcast just before we go away, and then I'm going to try and pre-film some stuff for while we're there, so you can still have some content coming out. But yeah, that's what you can expect. I hope you've enjoyed this. I am out of breath. I feel like I've chatted an absolute load of rubbish for about an hour at you. So if I have, I'm really sorry. I hope you've enjoyed it. And thank you very much for being here as always. Have a great afternoon, evening, weekend, whatever it is, wherever you are, and I will catch you on the next one. Thanks for being here. Bye guys.